Where are the elks?
I'm such a dad, man. I call myself sleeping in because I'm not at home, and here I am catching the sunrise because why not?
So pure Michigan. Oh my God. But it's also very, very cold. Hence, my hands are in my pockets. So glad I was able to get up this morning and get in the right mindset. I'm talking about intersectional approaches to suicide prevention this morning. And just thinking about the fact that no one can do this on their own and that we all have a little bit of responsibility in addressing this problem. When I say problem, I don't mean it to stigmatize people who experience suicidal ideations or suicidal thoughts, but the fact that we have not yet been able to come up with solutions to ensure people don't have those experiences. That's a problem. We gotta do better. I don't know if this current regime is gonna allow that.
So before like most speaking engagements, I always sneak off and listen to Body and Soul by Anita Baker to like get me in this like trance almost to lock you in. And that's what this is.
But how do we build that authentic relationship? And I think that's the first question that we want to talk about is, how do we go about building authentic relationships across sectors? And also, how do we sustain it? Because things look really good when we have the grants, but how do we sustain it beyond the funding?
So the panel was dope. And I feel like I'm trying to lean into like my own authenticity while acknowledging like my own insecurities when it comes to public speaking. Like I'm not a public speaker. Like I have too many thoughts that go through my mind at one time, and I'm learning that it's okay to take notes. Like I have this impression that people want to see people up there like moving their hands and like no notes, just freestyle, top of dome. And I can't do that. Not always. I mean, I went to a conference in Chicago last month, and I was able to like give my presentation with no problem because it's lived experience. And so you can't tell me I'm wrong. But with a topic like suicide prevention, I was like really nervous because I view the people in the audience as the experts. But I talked in the beginning about this linkage between healing and harm, because I'm actively reading Kindred by Octavia Butler, and the relationship that she has with Rufus. I don't want to give like the full spoiler, but like, how do we in helping professions acknowledge like the healing that we desire is within the system that needs harm to function? How do we do that? How do we reconcile that? Where do you address that tension? And a lot of us don't. And so until we feel comfortable naming that and calling it out, we're just going to continue to ignore it. And so I was glad to be able to like start the conversation with that. The other thing that was interesting to me was we had someone from law enforcement on the panel too. And I could not take the opportunity to talk about how law enforcement is not always welcome in the communities that we're trying to assist.
I think that's the thing that I want to make sure I add there is like law enforcement, for some communities, we're afraid. You think about surveillance. It's like,
you think about police brutality, like all those things, that's a part of the narrative and also the experience for many marginalized groups. And so as much as they're providing value and resources, you can't ignore the fact that, hey, I might not feel comfortable talking to you, bro. Like I might not feel comfortable with what you have to offer. Maybe somebody else has to do it. And as people that provide services, we have to be comfortable with that too. And like really leaning into, I might not be the one, but I can connect you with the next